Imagine this: a colleague gives you a piece of feedback that feels like a direct hit to your confidence. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and all you want to do is defend yourself or maybe even walk away. Now, what if I told you there is a way to face that moment with calmness, clarity, and even a sense of strength? Welcome to the world of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that remains remarkably practical in today's fast-paced, opinion-filled world. In this video, we're diving into 20 timeless Stoic principles that will transform how you respond to criticism, whether it's from a boss, a friend, or even a stranger online. By learning these techniques, you'll not only deflect the sting of harsh judgments, but also turn them into opportunities for growth and self-mastery. So, if you've ever struggled with how to handle negative feedback, stay tuned, because what you're about to learn could change your life in ways you didn't think possible. Let's begin. Now, turning to the first Stoic principle, let's delve into the idea of focusing on what you can control. At the heart of Stoicism lies this cornerstone belief: there are things in life we can control, and there are things we cannot. When it comes to criticism, it's crucial to understand that the opinions, words, and judgments of others fall firmly into the category of what is beyond our control. However, what we can always control is our response to those opinions. Think of it like standing in the middle of a storm. You cannot stop the wind or the rain, but you can choose whether to brave it with an umbrella or get soaked. When faced with criticism, instead of fixating on the external words that you cannot change, focus on your internal reaction, which is fully within your power. A practical way to start applying this principle is by creating a mental checklist whenever you encounter critique. Pause and ask yourself, is this something I can control? If not, redirect your energy toward how you want to respond. For example, you might decide to take a few deep breaths and remind yourself that the critic's words do not define you. By focusing on what you can control, you not only regain a sense of calm, but also build resilience against negativity. This mental shift allows you to see criticism not as a personal attack, but as an opportunity to practice self-mastery. When you truly embrace this mindset, you'll find that criticism loses much of its power over you. So, as we move forward, remember, your control lies in your reaction, not in the opinions of others. Moving forward, let's explore practical exercises to truly master the art of focusing on what you can control. One effective method is journaling. Take a few moments each day to reflect on situations where criticism impacted you. Write down what was said, how it made you feel, and most importantly, separate what was within your control from what was not. For example, you might note that while you couldn't control someone's harsh tone, you could control whether you dwelled on it or moved forward. This practice not only helps you better understand your reactions, but also trains your mind to focus on your own power rather than the unpredictable words of others. To bring this idea to life, let's take inspiration from Stoic figures like Epictetus, who famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Imagine Epictetus sold into slavery, facing countless judgments and challenges. Yet, rather than fixating on those external hardships, he channeled his energy into mastering his thoughts and actions, shaping his legacy as a prominent Stoic philosopher. Another exercise is to visualize a shield, a tool you carry with you mentally. Whenever criticism comes your way, picture this shield protecting your inner peace. The words bounce off, unable to reach your core, because you've decided they don't define or control you. Over time, these practices help you reclaim your emotional energy, turning criticism from a source of distress into an opportunity for growth. Focusing on these exercises builds a foundation of resilience and self-trust, empowering you to remain steady no matter what storms arise. Now, as we continue our journey, let's discover how reframing criticism as feedback can open doors to self-improvement. Now turning to the next principle, viewing criticism as feedback rather than an attack allows us to shift from a mindset of defensiveness to one of growth. Stoicism teaches that criticism, when reframed, becomes a valuable tool for self-improvement. Instead of taking negative comments personally, we can see them as reflections of areas where we might grow stronger or refine our actions. Consider this: when a Stoic philosopher like Marcus Aurelius faced harsh feedback, he didn't dismiss it or react emotionally. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity to examine his own behavior. He wrote, "If anyone can prove and show to me that I think or act wrongly, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." This quote captures the essence of turning criticism into a lesson rather than a wound. In today's context, think about workplace scenarios where critical feedback may feel unsettling. Perhaps your manager points out flaws in your approach to a project. While it may sting at first, choosing to focus on what you can learn from this feedback can transform the experience. Instead of seeing it as an attack on your abilities, recognize it as a chance to refine your skills and deliver better results in the future. Imagine welcoming such feedback with curiosity rather than resistance, asking follow-up questions like, "What specific changes would you recommend?" or "How can I improve moving forward?" This approach not only helps you grow but also demonstrates resilience and professionalism. By reinterpreting criticism as constructive insight rather than a personal affront, you unlock the potential for continuous self-betterment. This mindset, deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, empowers you to rise above the noise of negativity and find value even in the harshest words. As we delve deeper, let's learn how to develop emotional neutrality when faced with criticism, further strengthening our response. Now turning to developing emotional neutrality, this practice begins with the art of pausing and reflecting when receiving criticism. Too often, our immediate reaction to negative feedback is driven by emotion, causing us to respond impulsively or defensively. Stoicism encourages us to create a moment of space between receiving criticism and reacting to it. In that space, we have the opportunity to examine the words objectively instead of letting emotions cloud our judgment. A simple mental exercise is to silently ask yourself, is this feedback about an action I can improve, or is it more about the other person's perspective? By shifting the focus to understanding rather than reacting, you give yourself the chance to respond with clarity instead of defensiveness. Imagine receiving a critical email at work. Instead of firing off a heated reply right away, take a step back and practice detachment. Ask yourself, what is the intent behind this message, and what value can I extract from their perspective? Then approach your response with curiosity. A reply like, "Thank you for the feedback. Could you clarify what specific changes you believe would improve the outcome?" transforms the exchange into one of growth and collaboration rather than conflict. This detachment is not about suppressing emotions, but rather about understanding them and choosing a rational response. Over time, consistently pausing before reacting helps build resilience and calmness, a hallmark of Stoic practice. Developing emotional neutrality doesn't mean becoming indifferent to what others say. Instead, it means learning to see criticism for what it is, a perspective, not a personal attack. This perspective allows you to remain composed and intentional in your actions, turning potentially tense situations into opportunities for growth. As we continue, we will explore another powerful Stoic technique, negative visualization, which prepares the mind to face criticism with even greater equanimity. Now turning to the practice of negative visualization, this powerful Stoic technique invites us to mentally prepare for the worst-case scenarios, providing a shield of resilience against the sting of criticism. By imagining a scenario where criticism might be at its harshest or most challenging, we create a sort of mental rehearsal that desensitizes us to the emotional impact when it actually happens. For example, let's say you are about to present an idea in a team meeting. Before stepping into that room, take a moment to visualize receiving harsh feedback. Picture someone rejecting your idea entirely or questioning your competence. Instead of letting this thought overwhelm you, use it to mentally prepare. Ask yourself, what is the worst comment I could realistically hear in this situation? And how can I respond constructively to that? This exercise is not about expecting failure, but about becoming familiar with the possibility so it doesn't catch you off guard. The beauty of negative visualization lies in its ability to reduce the fear and emotional charge surrounding criticism. When your mind has already considered the worst, anything less feels more manageable and less intimidating. This technique can also be applied in personal scenarios. Imagine a friend or family member openly pointing out a mistake you made. Think through their potential words, your initial emotional reaction, and then rehearse responding calmly and thoughtfully. By doing this, you transform an anticipated emotional reaction into a measured and intentional reply. Practicing negative visualization helps you approach criticism not with dread but with preparation and inner strength. It serves as a reminder that while we cannot fully control what others may say, we can control how we mentally prepare and respond. As this practice becomes a habit, you'll notice that criticism starts to lose its power to unsettle you, making space for personal growth and self-assurance. Next, we'll take this concept further by exploring real-life applications of negative visualization and how it can be seamlessly integrated into daily routines for even greater resilience. Now turning to real-life applications of negative visualization, this practice proves to be transformative in situations where criticism is likely. Take public speaking, for instance. Imagine you are preparing to deliver a presentation to a room filled with colleagues or even strangers. The thought of potential criticism might feel overwhelming, but here's how negative visualization can help. Before you step onto the stage, spend a few moments picturing the worst-case feedback you might receive. Maybe someone questions your credibility, or perhaps they find an error in your slide deck. Now, instead of letting this imagined scenario shake your confidence, rehearse handling it with composure. Visualize yourself acknowledging their point with grace, responding calmly, and steering the conversation back to your key message. By mentally preparing for these moments, you not only ease your fear, but also equip yourself with a poised and constructive attitude. This same approach works wonders in creative fields. Let's say you are an artist or a writer sharing your work with an audience or a critic for the first time. The vulnerability of putting your creativity on display can often magnify fear of rejection. But practicing negative visualization can soften this blow. Picture a harsh critique of your technique or concept. Instead of dreading it, consider how you might use such feedback to refine your work. Imagine yourself thanking the critic for their thoughts, taking their insights objectively, and applying what serves your growth. Making negative visualization a daily habit is simpler than you might think. Start small. Before an important meeting, take 5 minutes to reflect on possible criticisms. Mentally navigate through them and plan your calm, collected responses. Do this before posting a bold idea online or even before having a tough conversation with someone close to you. The beauty of this practice lies in its versatility. It adapts to virtually any context where criticism might arise. By rehearsing these scenarios in advance, you transform fear into preparedness, allowing you to face the real moment with clarity and confidence. Moving forward, we'll explore another powerful Stoic practice that shifts your perspective on criticism entirely. Moving forward, let us delve into the concept of adopting the observer's perspective, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy that offers a profound way to approach criticism. Imagine separating yourself from the emotional intensity of a moment and viewing the situation as though you were a neutral third party, merely observing the interaction. This shift in perspective helps you detach from personal biases and reduces the sting of criticism. Rather than reacting impulsively, you gain the clarity to assess the words being said without being clouded by defensiveness or anger. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, offers a timeless insight. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. By stepping into the role of an observer, you exercise this very power, choosing to focus on your internal response over external judgments. Here's a practical way to apply this principle. The next time you face criticism, pause for a moment and imagine watching the conversation as if it were a scene in a movie. Picture yourself as an audience member, observing how both you and the other person interact. This simple mental exercise creates distance, allowing you to listen objectively to the critique being offered. Let's say a colleague criticizes your work during a team meeting. Instead of feeling attacked or defensive, you can practice this observational approach. Notice their tone, their choice of words, and even their body language without attributing malicious intent. This shift can help you see the feedback as data, not as a personal attack, enabling you to respond with thoughtful and measured words. This method also aligns beautifully with one of Stoicism's greatest lessons. The only thing we can control is how we choose to react. The observer's perspective empowers you to reclaim that control by encouraging curiosity instead of conflict. As you refine this practice, you may even find yourself welcoming criticism as an opportunity to strengthen your character. This approach transforms potentially painful moments into chances for growth, all while maintaining your emotional peace. With this newfound understanding of viewing criticism through an objective lens, let us now turn our attention to the Stoic belief in embracing the transience of all things, including criticism itself. Now turning to the next Stoic insight, let us explore the principle of embracing the temporary nature of criticism. At its core, Stoicism teaches us the impermanence of all things, including the sting of harsh words or negative feedback. By recognizing that criticism is not a permanent fixture but rather a fleeting moment, we can ease its emotional impact. Think of each critique as a passing cloud in the sky. It might block the sun for a moment, but it inevitably drifts away. This mindset reminds us that no matter how harsh a comment may feel in the moment, it will not define us forever. Consider how this perspective can be applied in daily life. Imagine receiving an unjust critique from a friend or colleague. In the heat of the moment, it is easy to feel as though the words are etched into your identity. But by taking a step back and acknowledging that this feedback, like any moment in life, will pass, you create space for emotional clarity. This is where calming techniques come into play. Something as simple as taking a deep, slow breath can act as an anchor, pulling you back to the present and reminding you of the transient nature of what you are experiencing. For instance, let's say you are criticized for a project at work. Instead of letting those words replay in your mind and disrupt your peace, pause and take a moment to breathe deeply and reflect. Remind yourself that this moment, no matter how uncomfortable, is temporary. It will not last forever. This practice not only softens the emotional sting, but also strengthens your ability to respond constructively rather than react impulsively. This approach ties beautifully to the larger Stoic philosophy that life is in constant motion, ever-changing and evolving. Criticism, much like joy or sorrow, is a temporary visitor in our lives. By embracing this truth, we free ourselves from the chains of overthinking and self-doubt. Criticism loses its power to wound deeply when we understand that, like waves on the shore, it will come and go. As we embrace this mindset of impermanence, we open the door to greater resilience and inner peace. With this understanding in mind, let us now delve into the next Stoic principle, which shifts our focus inward by emphasizing character over reputation. Moving forward, let us explore the Stoic wisdom of focusing on character rather than reputation. This principle is rooted in the idea that while reputation depends on the opinions of others and lies outside our control, our character is entirely within our grasp. By prioritizing the cultivation of integrity, virtue, and values, we shield ourselves from the damaging weight of negative opinions. Why? Because when you know you are acting in alignment with your principles, the judgments of others carry far less significance. Imagine a scenario at work where your decision to speak up for what is right is met with criticism from colleagues worried about their own standing. In such cases, it is tempting to retreat and conform, sacrificing your values to protect your reputation. However, Stoicism teaches us that reputation is ephemeral, a reflection of external viewpoints that can change as quickly as the direction of the wind. Character, on the other hand, is a lasting foundation, one that provides internal peace and self-respect regardless of external praise or blame. Think about this in the context of school, where peer pressure often sways behavior. A student might face ridicule for refusing to participate in questionable activities. In that moment, focusing on reputation might compel them to follow the group, but focusing on character reminds them that doing the right thing is what truly matters. When we make choices based on our inner compass rather than external validation, we build strength, resilience, and a sense of authenticity that criticism simply cannot diminish. To apply this principle in everyday life, start by reflecting on your personal values. What virtues define you? Perhaps it is honesty, kindness, or courage. The next time you face criticism, ask yourself whether it challenges your character or merely your reputation. If deep down you know you have acted with integrity, let that be your source of strength. Remember, others may misunderstand or misjudge you, but their perceptions do not alter the truth of your actions. As Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what matters most is to live in harmony with your nature and values. By focusing on character and relinquishing the desire to control how others perceive you, you discover an unshakable inner peace. And with this mindset firmly in place, you can navigate the judgments of others without losing sight of what truly matters. Building on this idea, let us now turn to the next Stoic insight, which encourages us to understand the critic's perspective to better navigate criticism with empathy and wisdom. Now turning to the next insight, let us uncover the Stoic wisdom of understanding the critic's perspective. This principle rests on the foundation of empathy, a key virtue in Stoic philosophy. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, Stoicism encourages us to pause and consider the motives, emotions, or even struggles that might have led someone to criticize us. By doing so, we replace hostility with understanding and transform moments of tension into opportunities for growth and connection. Imagine receiving harsh feedback from a colleague at work. At first glance, it may feel like an unfair attack, but what if you step back and ask yourself, could this criticism stem from their own insecurities or personal challenges? Perhaps they are overwhelmed with stress or worried about their own performance. This shift in perspective not only helps you manage your emotional response, but also enables you to approach the situation with greater rationality and compassion. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, reflected deeply on this idea. In his writings, he frequently reminded himself that people act based on their own limited understanding or inner struggles. He practiced seeing others as part of the shared human experience, flawed, imperfect, and often acting out of ignorance rather than malice. By adopting this viewpoint, he maintained a calm mind, even in the face of criticism or hostility. Let us consider another example, a family member who often critiques your decisions. Instead of viewing their words as an attack, take a moment to reflect. Could their concerns be rooted in love or fear for your well-being? Understanding their perspective does not mean you have to agree with them, but it allows you to respond with patience rather than frustration. To apply this principle in your life, try imagining yourself in the critic's shoes. Ask yourself why they might see things the way they do. Are there hidden fears, cultural differences, or past experiences influencing their opinions? Even if their criticism is unfounded, this exercise of empathy can free you from the emotional turmoil of taking their words too personally. Remember, understanding the critic's perspective does not mean excusing poor behavior, but it empowers you to maintain your composure and act with wisdom. As Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? This reflective approach not only helps you navigate criticism with grace, but also fosters emotional resilience. Armed with this insight, you can turn criticism into an opportunity to practice empathy and strengthen your inner peace. Moving forward, let us delve into another profound Stoic teaching: seeing criticism as a mirror for self-reflection and embracing it as a valuable tool for growth. Now turning to the idea of seeing criticism as a mirror for self-reflection, we uncover another profound Stoic teaching that aligns with their deep commitment to self-awareness. Criticism, when viewed through the lens of Stoicism, is not merely an external judgment but also an opportunity to evaluate ourselves honestly. It is a tool that can reveal blind spots we might have overlooked and areas where we can improve. While it is tempting to dismiss negative feedback outright, the Stoics remind us to pause and ask, is there truth in these words that can help me grow? Start by separating the content of the criticism from the emotions it stirs. This, in itself, is a Stoic exercise of rationality over impulse. Consider whether the feedback is constructive or merely an expression of someone else's frustrations. Constructive criticism often points to specific areas for improvement, supports its claims with reasoning, and is delivered with the intent to help. On the other hand, baseless criticism is vague, lacks substance, and often says more about the critic than it does about you. To practice this principle, begin with a moment of stillness. When faced with criticism, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this feedback highlighting a genuine flaw or mistake in my actions? If it is, resist the urge to feel ashamed or defensive. Instead, view it as a chance to make adjustments and grow stronger. For example, if a teammate at work points out that you tend to interrupt during meetings, use that observation to develop greater awareness of your communication habits. By embracing the criticism with humility, you can transform it into a stepping stone for personal growth. On the other hand, if the feedback is clearly baseless or rooted in malice, the Stoic approach is to let it pass, much like waves crashing against a steady rock. The Stoics emphasize that not all opinions should hold weight in our minds. As Epictetus advised, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Choose to focus on feedback that aligns with your values and contributes to your development, while remaining indifferent to unwarranted negativity. A practical tip for applying this principle is to journal your reflections on criticism. Writing down what was said, how it made you feel, and whether it has merit can help you process the feedback calmly. This practice not only sharpens your self-awareness but also allows you to track patterns over time, recognizing recurring areas for improvement or dismissing repetitive and unfounded criticisms. Ultimately, seeing criticism as a mirror for self-reflection is about turning external challenges into internal clarity. It is an exercise in humility, honesty, and growth. By evaluating criticism thoughtfully, you can use it as a tool to refine your character and align more deeply with your principles. Now, with this empowering perspective of self-reflection in mind, let us explore the Stoic concept of practicing the art of indifference and how it liberates us from the emotional weight of unwarranted criticism. Now turning to the Stoic concept of practicing the art of indifference, we delve into the idea of apatheia, which emphasizes freedom from passion and emotional disturbances. This principle encourages us to approach criticism with calm detachment, allowing us to maintain our inner peace regardless of external opinions. The idea is not to ignore all feedback outright, but to filter out unwarranted criticism that does not align with our values or contribute to our growth. By mastering this practice, we free ourselves from the emotional burden of trying to please everyone and instead focus on what truly matters. A great way to start practicing indifference is by reminding yourself that not all opinions carry equal weight. Criticism from someone who lacks understanding of your values or intentions does not define your worth. For instance, in the realm of online criticism, it is not uncommon to encounter negative comments from people hiding behind the anonymity of the internet. Instead of engaging or feeling hurt, remind yourself that these remarks often say more about the critic's state of mind than about your character. A helpful exercise here is to imagine such comments as random noise, background chatter that you can choose to tune out. Another practical application of the art of indifference is to consciously avoid taking criticism personally. When someone makes a harsh remark, pause and think, is this criticism really about me, or could it be a reflection of their own struggles or frustrations? This mental shift can empower you to let go of unnecessary emotional reactions. For example, imagine a scenario where a coworker criticizes your approach to a task in an overly negative way. Instead of reacting defensively, you can choose to focus on the content of their criticism and disregard the tone if it lacks constructiveness. Remind yourself that their perspective does not alter your value or the quality of your work unless the feedback is valid. The Stoics also taught that practicing indifference is not about suppressing emotions but about not being controlled by them. It is about cultivating a sense of emotional neutrality, a steady state of mind that remains unshaken even in the face of harsh criticism. This can be particularly powerful in environments like social media, where negativity can feel overwhelming. When faced with a critical comment online, take a moment to ask yourself, does this comment align with my values? Does it offer constructive feedback? If the answer is no, then let it slide, much like water flowing around a rock. To incorporate this Stoic mindset into daily life, try visualizing a boundary between yourself and the opinions of others. Picture this boundary as a protective barrier that allows in feedback that is constructive and helpful while keeping out negativity that serves no purpose. Over time, this mental exercise can help you build a resilient inner core that is less affected by unwarranted criticism. Ultimately, practicing the art of indifference is about reclaiming your power over your emotional responses. By choosing not to let baseless criticism disturb you, you liberate yourself from the need for external validation and anchor your sense of worth in your own principles. And with this newfound emotional freedom, let us now examine how the Stoic principle of accepting imperfection can further ease the sting of criticism and guide us toward a more compassionate view of ourselves. Now turning to the Stoic principle of accepting imperfection, we explore how embracing our flaws can help us respond to criticism with greater grace and understanding. This idea stems from the Stoic belief that humans are inherently imperfect beings, navigating an imperfect world. Rather than striving for unattainable perfection, the Stoics encourage us to accept that mistakes and shortcomings are a natural part of life. This perspective reminds us that criticism often highlights these imperfections, not as a mark of failure, but as an opportunity to learn and grow. By releasing ourselves from the unrealistic expectation of perfection, we remove much of the sting that criticism can bring. For instance, when a friend points out a flaw in your behavior, instead of feeling defensive or ashamed, you can see it as a chance to reflect and improve. A practical exercise to internalize this principle is to adopt a mindset of self-compassion. When criticized, take a moment to remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes, and each one is a step in the journey of self-improvement. Picture yourself as a work in progress, just as the great Stoic philosophers were in their own lifetimes. Even Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and a central figure in Stoicism, acknowledged his imperfection and wrote extensively about the value of continuous self-reflection. By embracing your unique imperfections, you cultivate resilience against the fear of judgment that often amplifies the impact of criticism. This shift in perspective helps you approach feedback with humility, viewing it not as an attack but as a valuable tool for growth. Over time, this practice allows you to become more accepting of both your flaws and the criticism they may invite, empowering you to respond with calm confidence rather than emotional turmoil. This approach not only softens the blow of negative feedback but also strengthens your authentic connection to yourself and others. And as we reflect on this acceptance of imperfection, we next turn to the Stoic realization that criticism itself is inevitable, offering insights into how to navigate it as an unavoidable part of life. Now turning to the Stoic acknowledgement that criticism is inevitable, we see how this principle serves as a grounding force when facing negativity. In their wisdom, the Stoics recognized that no matter how virtuous or accomplished we strive to be, criticism is an unavoidable aspect of the human experience. This is particularly true for those who aim high, pursue excellence, or choose to lead. The more visible your efforts and aspirations, the more likely you are to encounter both praise and disapproval. The Stoic philosopher Seneca often reflected on this reality, understanding that greatness naturally invites scrutiny. Despite being one of the most influential thinkers of his time, Seneca faced relentless criticism, yet he chose to remain steadfast in his purpose. He urged others to see external judgments as reflections of the critic's perspective, not necessarily of one's true character. For example, if someone disparages your work or ideas, it is often more about their preferences, misunderstandings, or insecurities than about your actual worth or effort. This realization allows us to separate our sense of self from the opinions of others, preserving our inner peace. When encountering criticism, remind yourself that it is not a question of if, but when. By anticipating its inevitability, as the Stoics did, you can prepare to meet it with calm and resolve. Imagine criticism as a passing breeze, unpleasant perhaps, but temporary and unable to unsettle you unless you let it. Seneca's writings encourage us to focus on our own values and intentions, using them as a compass to navigate the storm of external feedback. This perspective not only reduces the emotional weight of criticism, but also reinforces our commitment to what truly matters. By accepting criticism as an unavoidable aspect of life, you can approach it with courage, clarity, and an unshakable focus on your greater purpose. And as we delve deeper into Stoic practices, we next explore how to turn criticism into motivation, transforming obstacles into opportunities for growth and achievement. Now turning to how Stoicism encourages turning obstacles into opportunities, including criticism, we uncover a powerful approach to handling negativity. The Stoics believed that challenges, whether in the form of setbacks or harsh feedback, provide a chance to grow stronger and wiser. Instead of viewing criticism as a barrier, they saw it as a stepping stone toward self-improvement. Think of criticism as raw material, much like iron ore that, when refined, becomes steel. Similarly, negative comments can be transformed into tools for growth. For instance, if someone critiques a project you have worked on, instead of reacting defensively, consider whether their feedback highlights a genuine area for improvement. Take a moment to reflect. Does this critique reveal a skill you can sharpen, a perspective you may have overlooked? By approaching criticism with curiosity rather than resistance, you can uncover opportunities to refine your abilities or broaden your understanding. One effective Stoic-inspired strategy is to write down the feedback you receive, even if it stings initially. Next, identify the aspects of the criticism that are constructive and actionable. For example, if a colleague suggests your communication could be clearer, use that insight to practice and enhance your communication skills. Turn the negative comment into a specific, measurable goal, such as delivering a more concise presentation in your next team meeting. This process shifts your mindset from feeling targeted to feeling empowered as you channel criticism into meaningful progress. The Stoics were also firm believers in perseverance. Marcus Aurelius, known for his calm determination, often reminded himself that adversity is an essential part of the path to excellence. He wrote that obstacles are not interruptions but opportunities to practice virtue. So, when faced with criticism, focus on your values and long-term aspirations. Allow the critique to strengthen your resolve and remind you of the bigger picture. By reframing criticism as a tool rather than a threat, you reduce its emotional power over you and transform it into a force that propels you forward. With this shift in perspective, criticism becomes less about tearing you down and more about building you up. As we continue, let us examine how Stoicism warns against the dangers of the ego when dealing with criticism, offering further insights into preserving inner peace and rationality in the face of judgment. Now turning to how Stoicism warns against letting the ego take control when dealing with criticism, we uncover an essential practice for maintaining inner peace and rationality. The ego, often fueled by pride and the desire for validation, can transform a simple critique into a personal attack if left unchecked. Stoicism teaches us to step back and observe how our ego reacts to criticism, reminding us that the opinions of others do not define our worth. By detaching from the ego, we create space for calm reflection rather than impulsive reactions. For example, consider a situation where a friend's offhand comment about your work stings deeply. An ego-driven response might involve defensiveness or even retaliating with a criticism of your own. This reaction, while momentarily satisfying, often escalates conflicts unnecessarily and leaves both parties feeling hurt or misunderstood. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to pause and ask, is this reaction coming from a place of pride or insecurity? What would happen if I chose not to take this personally? By separating the criticism from your sense of self, you can evaluate it objectively. If the feedback has merit, use it as an opportunity for improvement. If it does not, let it pass without attaching emotional weight to it. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his writings that what others say or think about us is ultimately out of our control, and giving it power only disrupts our inner tranquility. Another practical way to put this into action is to practice humility. Humility does not mean undervaluing yourself, but rather recognizing that you, like everyone else, are a work in progress. Criticism, whether fair or misplaced, is part of the human experience. By approaching feedback with humility, you deflate the ego and prevent it from clouding your judgment. For instance, if a colleague points out a mistake in a report you prepared, instead of letting embarrassment or annoyance take over, calmly acknowledge the error and focus on how you can correct it moving forward. This approach not only preserves your peace of mind, but also strengthens your relationships and respect from others. By keeping the ego in check, you become less reactive and more thoughtful in your responses. This allows you to approach criticism with clarity and composure, turning what could be a source of tension into an opportunity for learning and growth. With this understanding in place, let us now explore how cultivating gratitude, even toward our critics, can further transform the way we perceive and respond to negative feedback. Now turning to cultivating gratitude for critics, we delve into a transformative Stoic practice that can shift how we view and respond to criticism. Gratitude, even toward those who critique us, might feel counterintuitive at first, especially when the feedback stings. However, Stoicism teaches us to regard criticism as an opportunity for growth rather than an attack on our character. When we embrace this mindset, criticism becomes a tool for self-improvement rather than a source of distress. Imagine receiving harsh feedback from a manager about your performance on a recent project. While your initial reaction might be defensive, what if you paused and reframed the situation? Instead of seeing the comment as a personal slight, you could view it as a chance to identify areas for improvement and strengthen your skills. By appreciating the feedback for what it can teach you, you open the door to personal growth and professional development. Gratitude toward critics is not about blindly accepting all feedback as valid, but about recognizing their role in highlighting aspects of ourselves that may need attention. Even when criticism feels unjustified, it offers an opportunity to practice patience and maintain emotional balance. Marcus Aurelius wrote about welcoming adversities since they provide occasions to exercise virtues such as resilience and wisdom, a perspective that applies just as well to handling criticism. For instance, if a family member offers unsolicited advice about your lifestyle choices, instead of dismissing the comment outright, you could consider whether there is a kernel of truth in their observation that might help you grow. By approaching the interaction with gratitude for their concern, even if misplaced, you reduce the risk of conflict and maintain harmony in the relationship. This practice not only fosters personal growth but also strengthens your ability to see challenges, including criticism, as valuable lessons. With this perspective in mind, let us now move forward to explore how discernment plays a crucial role in deciding when to engage with criticism and when to simply let it go. Moving forward to the importance of discernment in Stoicism, we uncover why not every criticism warrants a response. In life, there will always be voices aiming to dissect, analyze, or even provoke you, but Stoicism advises us to pause and ask a crucial question: does this criticism deserve my attention? Responding to every critique can quickly drain your emotional energy, leaving you scattered and unfocused, which is why discernment becomes a core tool in navigating feedback. Imagine receiving an offhand comment from a colleague that feels harsh or even unfair. Before reacting, consider the value of their words. Does their opinion hold weight in your life? Is it constructive or merely designed to provoke? By practicing this evaluative pause, you create space to determine whether the criticism aligns with your goals or values. A Stoic knows that engaging with every critique can spiral into unnecessary conflict and distraction. Instead, focus your energy on feedback that genuinely contributes to your growth. For example, if a close friend provides thoughtful advice that helps you reevaluate a decision, that may be worth considering. However, a random comment from a stranger on social media often adds no meaningful insight but can spark unnecessary emotional turmoil if you let it. Marcus Aurelius wisely reminds us to focus on what truly matters and not be swayed by the opinions of others. By choosing when to engage and when to let go, you conserve your energy for what matters most: your principles, growth, and inner peace. Letting go of irrelevant criticism is not about ignoring valid feedback, but about understanding that not all voices deserve a seat at your table of priorities. This selective approach fosters self-control and ensures you remain anchored in your values. Now that we understand the power of discernment, let us explore how practicing self-compassion can soften the impact of criticism and enhance our resilience. Now turning to the importance of self-compassion, we uncover how Stoicism guides us to be kinder to ourselves in the face of criticism. When harsh words or disapproval come your way, it is easy to let self-doubt creep in and erode your sense of worth. But a core Stoic belief reminds us that we are all imperfect beings, each navigating life with our own set of challenges. By embracing self-compassion, we acknowledge this shared humanity and allow ourselves the grace to grow from, rather than be diminished by, criticism. Picture this: you make a mistake at work and your supervisor points it out in front of the team. Instead of spiraling into self-criticism, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, am I being fair to myself right now? The Stoics understood that being kind to oneself does not mean ignoring mistakes, but rather learning from them with a balanced perspective. Think of it as being your own mentor, offering guidance and encouragement instead of tearing yourself down. This shift in inner dialogue creates a buffer against the sting of negative feedback, allowing you to process it without losing confidence. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not disturb us, it is our judgments about them that do. If you judge yourself unkindly, you amplify the pain of criticism. Instead, practice reframing the situation. See it as an opportunity to learn, adapt, and refine. For example, if someone critiques your approach to a task, acknowledge their input, but also internally affirm what you did well and identify specific ways to improve. By supporting yourself through moments of vulnerability, you cultivate inner resilience and foster personal growth. Stoicism teaches us that the foundation of true strength lies in how we treat ourselves when faced with adversity. Self-compassion, then, is not a sign of weakness but a powerful tool for maintaining balance and moving forward after criticism. With this in mind, let us now explore the importance of fortifying your internal compass to remain steadfast in your values regardless of external opinions. With the next phase of the journey in sight, we turn to the idea of strengthening your internal compass. At the heart of Stoicism lies a profound emphasis on living in alignment with your internal values rather than seeking validation from the opinions of others. This principle teaches us that true confidence comes not from external applause but from unwavering adherence to what we know to be right and just. Imagine for a moment that you are navigating a ship in stormy seas. The waves of external criticism crash against you, relentless and unpredictable. But if your internal compass is strong and steady, you will keep your course regardless of the chaos around you. In the same way, staying anchored to your principles protects you from being swept away by the shifting tides of others' judgments. For example, consider a situation where your creative work is met with harsh criticism. Instead of letting external disapproval dictate your worth, reflect on the values that drive your work: passion, integrity, or a desire to learn and grow. By staying true to these principles, you make external opinions less relevant, freeing yourself from the need for constant approval. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that it is not the opinions of others that define us, but the choices we make in response to those opinions. He urged us to act in harmony with our deepest values, for this is where real strength and self-respect are found. To put this into practice, take time to clarify your own value system. Ask yourself, what matters to me most in life? What kind of person do I want to be? Write these principles down and reflect on them daily. Whenever faced with criticism, use these values as your guide, asking, does this feedback align with my principles? Does it help me grow in the direction I aspire to? If the answer is yes, embrace it with an open mind. If no, let it wash away like waves against the hull of your ship. This mindset not only helps you remain grounded, but also empowers you to act with purpose, clarity, and self-assurance. Strengthening your internal compass is a liberating practice, one that enables you to focus on what truly matters while minimizing the noise of external judgments. As you build this inner foundation, let us now explore how recognizing the universality of criticism can further ease its burden and foster a sense of shared humanity. Now turning to the idea of recognizing the universality of criticism, we delve into one of the most comforting perspectives Stoicism offers. Criticism is not a phenomenon exclusive to a select few. It is a universal experience shared by all. No matter who you are, where you come from, or what you do, criticism is an inevitable part of life. Marcus Aurelius profoundly stated that we should remind ourselves that others act from their own perceptions and limitations, and that criticism often reveals more about the critic than us. This shift in perspective can be profoundly liberating. Imagine a public figure, perhaps an artist, a leader, or even a teacher. These people often face relentless criticism, not necessarily because they have done something wrong, but because criticism is simply a part of being visible and active in the world. Realizing this makes your own experiences with criticism feel far less isolating. A helpful way to internalize this principle is to reflect on times when you yourself may have criticized others. Perhaps you offered harsh feedback out of frustration or because of your own insecurities or misunderstandings. Remembering these moments can deepen your empathy and remind you that receiving criticism is part of what connects us as humans. For instance, if a colleague criticizes your work, you might initially feel hurt or defensive. But by remembering the universality of criticism, you might pause and realize that your colleague's feedback could stem from their own perspectives or circumstances, not necessarily a reflection of your worth or effort. This understanding allows you to approach the situation with a clear mind and an open heart, transforming what could be a moment of conflict into an opportunity for connection or growth. To put this into practice, remind yourself frequently that you are not alone in facing criticism. Reframe it as evidence that you are living a life of action, creativity, and engagement. Even the most admired figures in history faced their share of detractors, yet they persevered. Knowing this can give you the courage to continue pursuing your path without undue fear of disapproval. Recognizing the universality of criticism is a powerful way to dissolve feelings of isolation, replacing them with a sense of shared humanity. As we move forward, let us explore how separating the criticism from the critic can provide an even greater sense of clarity and peace. Now turning to the Stoic principle of separating the criticism from the critic, we uncover a practice that brings both clarity and emotional balance. The next time you are criticized, ask yourself this: is my focus on the content of the criticism or on the person delivering it? Often, our emotional reactions are not so much a response to the feedback itself, but to how we perceive the intentions or personality of the critic. Stoicism reminds us that by detaching the criticism from the critic, we can evaluate the feedback on its own merit, free from unnecessary emotional entanglement. For example, imagine receiving a harsh comment from a coworker in a meeting. Instead of immediately reacting based on your personal feelings about that coworker, pause and consider the actual point they are making. Is there some truth to their statement, even if it was delivered poorly? Conversely, is it baseless and simply an expression of their own frustrations? Either way, separating the feedback from the individual helps you approach the situation rationally, directing your energy to what really matters: the value or validity of the criticism itself. Ancient Stoic philosophers such as Epictetus emphasized that we are only harmed by criticism when we allow ourselves to take it personally. This mental separation creates space for thoughtful reflection and ensures that your response is rooted in reason rather than emotion. To make this practice a habit, start by reframing how you perceive criticism. Instead of thinking, "He is being so unfair," or "She always criticizes me," shift your focus to questions like, "What can I learn from this?" Or, "Is there anything actionable here?" This mindset keeps you anchored in self-improvement rather than conflict. Over time, you will find that criticism feels less like a personal attack and more like an opportunity to grow or clarify misunderstandings. This principle works well in personal relationships too. Perhaps a family member offers unsolicited advice that feels critical. If you can separate the comment from the person, you may realize that their words, however clumsy, come from a place of care or concern. This perspective can not only neutralize the sting of criticism, but also strengthen your relationships by reducing unnecessary friction. Practicing this separation might not come naturally at first, but with consistent effort, it becomes an invaluable tool for maintaining inner peace. By no longer linking criticism with the personality or intentions of the critic, you take back control over your reactions and learn to see feedback for what it truly is: a viewpoint, not a verdict. With this in mind, let us now explore the Stoic practice of preparing for criticism in advance, which can fortify you against the unexpected and transform anticipation into empowerment. With the next phase of the journey in sight, we delve into the Stoic practice of preparing for criticism in advance, a concept known as premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This practice is about mentally preparing for challenges before they arise, equipping yourself to respond with composure rather than being caught off guard. In the context of criticism, this means imagining scenarios where you might face negative feedback and considering how you would handle them effectively. For instance, before a big presentation or a creative project launch, take a moment to reflect on the possibility of receiving critical responses. What might they say? How might it make you feel? By rehearsing these situations in your mind, you create a buffer, a mental space that allows you to detach from the sting of the moment and focus instead on constructive action. This does not mean dwelling on negativity or expecting the worst, but rather fostering a sense of readiness and resilience. Picture this as an athlete training for a competition. They do not only rehearse their winning moves, but also prepare for potential setbacks, like a tough opponent or an unexpected challenge. Similarly, by envisioning criticism ahead of time, you condition your mind to see it as a manageable event rather than a surprise attack. This preparation helps you transform criticism from a perceived threat into an opportunity. Imagine you are about to have a performance review at work. Instead of worrying about what your manager might say, practice visualizing constructive ways to respond. If they point out a mistake, decide in advance to focus on how you can improve. If the feedback is overly harsh, prepare yourself to calmly seek clarification or express your perspective without defensiveness. This mental rehearsal ensures that when the moment of criticism comes, you are not reacting impulsively but responding thoughtfully. Ancient Stoics believed that this practice strengthens your inner stability, as it trains your mind to remain unmoved by external events. By preparing for criticism in advance, you shift your focus from fear of the unknown to confidence in your ability to navigate it. Over time, this habit not only makes you more resilient but also fosters a proactive mindset that sees challenges as opportunities for growth. Now, as we fully embrace this ancient wisdom, let us consider how consistent preparation can evolve from a single practice into a transformative life skill. With the next phase of the journey in sight, let us explore advanced preparation techniques that can further develop resilience when facing criticism. Think of this as taking the practice of premeditation to the next level. One effective approach is role-playing scenarios. This involves enlisting a trusted friend, colleague, or mentor to simulate situations where you might receive criticism. By practicing your responses in a controlled, low-stakes environment, you build confidence and learn to articulate your thoughts calmly and effectively. For example, if you are preparing for a performance review, have someone play the role of your manager and offer feedback, both constructive and critical. This allows you to rehearse how you would respond, ensuring you remain composed and thoughtful in the moment. Another technique to strengthen your mental readiness is visualization. Beyond imagining the act of receiving criticism, focus on envisioning your ideal reaction. Picture yourself listening attentively, maintaining a steady tone, and responding with clarity and poise. Visualization is a powerful tool because it helps align your mental state with the behavior you wish to embody, turning abstract intentions into practiced habits. Finally, do not underestimate the value of building a support system. Surround yourself with people who encourage your growth and provide honest yet constructive feedback. Whether it is a close friend, a mentor, or a community aligned with your values, having a trusted network to consult can help you process criticism in a healthy way. They can offer perspective, help you evaluate the feedback objectively, and remind you of your strengths when self-doubt creeps in. Together, these techniques, role-playing scenarios, mental visualizations, and fostering a supportive network, lay the groundwork for a more proactive and resilient approach to criticism. By consistently practicing these strategies, you reinforce your ability to handle feedback with composure and confidence. As we continue, let us delve even deeper into how preparation can evolve into a mastery that sustains personal growth over the long term. As the sun rises on the next chapter, let us deepen our exploration into mastering preparation for dealing with criticism. True mastery lies in consistency, transforming these practices from one-time efforts into enduring habits. Start by dedicating a few minutes each day to reflection. Ask yourself, how well did I handle feedback today? What could I improve? This daily check-in keeps your mind attuned to growth, helping you refine your approach over time. Pair this with intentional repetition of techniques like visualization. Make it a routine to mentally rehearse challenging scenarios you might face, just as athletes rehearse their performances before game day. The goal is to make resilience second nature. Another important aspect is tracking your progress. Maintain a journal where you document situations where criticism arose, your initial reactions, and how you responded after considering Stoic principles. Over weeks or months, you will see patterns emerge, areas where you excel and room for growth. Reviewing this record periodically reinforces your commitment to improvement and builds self-awareness. Additionally, celebrate small victories along the way. Every time you respond to criticism with poise or use feedback constructively, acknowledge your progress. This positive reinforcement motivates you to stay on track. Beyond personal efforts, integrate your preparation into broader aspects of your life. For example, during team meetings or family discussions, invite open and honest feedback to normalize constructive exchanges. This not only improves your capacity to handle criticism, but also fosters healthier communication with others. By making these techniques a regular part of your life, you prepare not just for isolated moments of criticism, but for the unpredictability of life itself. Over time, this sustained practice becomes a cornerstone of personal growth, equipping you with unshakable composure and a profound sense of inner strength. Moving forward, let us consider how these practices, combined with other Stoic principles, form a holistic approach to navigating criticism with wisdom and grace. With the next phase of the journey in sight, let us take a moment to see how these 20 Stoic principles come together as a unified, powerful approach to handling criticism. Each principle has its own unique strength, but their true potential is unlocked when viewed as interconnected pieces of a larger puzzle. Together, they create a framework for transforming criticism from a source of distress into an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. To implement this holistic approach in daily life, start by creating a personalized action plan that resonates with your own struggles and aspirations. Begin by identifying which principles feel most relevant to your circumstances. Are you struggling to detach from the opinions of others? Focus on practicing indifference and recognizing what is within your control. Do you crave constructive feedback for self-improvement? Devote time to welcoming criticism as a mirror for self-reflection and growth. After pinpointing your focus areas, set simple, actionable goals to practice these principles consistently. For example, you might commit to journaling your responses to feedback every evening, or spend 5 minutes each day visualizing how to calmly handle potential criticism. Keep your plan manageable and realistic, as consistency is more important than perfection. Next, integrate these practices into the rhythm of your life. Make them a natural extension of your daily routine rather than isolated tasks. For instance, you could reflect on a Stoic quote each morning that aligns with your goals, or pause briefly before responding to criticism to practice emotional neutrality. Over time, these principles will become second nature, shaping how you think, react, and navigate challenges. Additionally, do not hesitate to revisit and adjust your plan as you grow. Life is unpredictable, and new situations may require emphasizing different principles. Use self-reflection not only to evaluate your progress, but also to refine your approach. At its core, applying Stoicism as a comprehensive philosophy means cultivating a mindset that sees criticism not as an obstacle, but as a pathway to strength and wisdom. It is about learning to embrace life's difficulties with clarity and courage, knowing that these practices pave the way for resilience and inner peace. Now, turning to modernizing Stoic principles, let us explore how this ancient philosophy can be adapted to address today's unique challenges. In a world dominated by social media, online criticism can feel overwhelming. The principle of focusing on what you can control becomes particularly relevant here. You cannot dictate the comments others leave or the opinions they share, but you can decide how you react to them. For instance, consider setting boundaries for your online engagement. This could mean limiting your time on platforms prone to negativity, or choosing not to respond to unconstructive criticism. Instead, redirect your energy toward creating content or pursuing projects that align with your values. Similarly, in the fast-paced dynamics of the modern workplace, emotions often run high when receiving feedback from colleagues or supervisors. Here, the Stoic practice of adopting the observer's perspective offers a valuable tool. Before reacting defensively, take a mental step back and view the situation as if you were an impartial third party. This perspective allows you to assess the feedback rationally and decide whether it holds merit. Another timeless principle, seeing criticism as a mirror for self-reflection, can also be applied effectively in modern settings. Whether it is a performance review at work or constructive feedback from a friend, the key is to approach it with genuine curiosity rather than defensiveness. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or how can this help me improve? Reframing criticism as an opportunity for growth transforms the experience from a potential source of stress into a moment of empowerment. To bring Stoic wisdom into everyday life, try incorporating small rituals. For example, before entering a situation where criticism is likely, such as a team presentation or an online forum, spend a few moments practicing deep breathing to center yourself. Reflecting on a Stoic quote like, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength," can also serve as a grounding reminder of your inner resilience. By translating these ancient principles into actionable practices, you equip yourself with tools to navigate modern challenges with clarity and calm, turning criticism into a stepping stone for personal and professional growth. Moving forward, let us examine the common missteps people often make when facing criticism and how Stoicism offers guidance to steer clear of these traps. One frequent mistake is overreacting to criticism, allowing emotions to take control and cloud judgment. Stoicism teaches us the importance of pause and reflection. When we react impulsively, we risk saying or doing things we might later regret. Instead, practice taking a deep breath and giving yourself a moment to process what was said before responding. This pause allows you to approach the situation with a clear mind and rational perspective. Another common misstep is misinterpreting criticism by taking it as a personal attack rather than constructive feedback. This often stems from our ego, which can make us overly defensive. The Stoic principle of separating the criticism from the critic can be particularly helpful here. Rather than focusing on who delivered the feedback or how it was said, focus on the actual content of the criticism. Is there something valuable you can learn from it? This shift in perspective transforms criticism into a tool for growth rather than a source of conflict. Additionally, many people make the mistake of dwelling excessively on negative feedback, replaying it in their mind and allowing it to dominate their thoughts. Stoicism reminds us of the impermanence of all things, including criticism. By embracing the temporary nature of such moments, you can free yourself from unnecessary rumination and redirect your energy toward more productive endeavors. To avoid these pitfalls, consider adopting practical strategies rooted in Stoicism. For example, after receiving criticism, write down the key points and assess their validity objectively. Ask yourself, is this feedback actionable, or does this align with my values and goals? If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is yes, use it as an opportunity for improvement. By learning to navigate these common missteps with Stoic wisdom, you empower yourself to face criticism with calm, clarity, and purpose. With the next phase of the journey in sight, let us explore the long-term benefits of adopting Stoic practices when handling criticism. Over time, integrating Stoic principles into your life can lead to profound transformations in how you perceive and respond to challenges. One of the most rewarding benefits is the development of unwavering confidence. By focusing on what truly matters, your values and actions, you naturally become less concerned with external opinions. This confidence is not rooted in arrogance, but in a deep sense of self-assurance that comes from knowing you are living authentically. Imagine being able to walk into any situation, whether it is a performance review at work or a challenging conversation with a loved one, with the calm certainty that you can handle whatever comes your way. Such composure is a direct result of Stoic training. Another significant benefit is the resilience you build against life's inevitable ups and downs. Stoicism teaches that criticism, like all external events, has no power over you unless you allow it. This mindset fosters an emotional strength that enables you to bounce back quickly from setbacks. For instance, if someone offers harsh feedback on a project you poured your heart into, instead of feeling defeated, you can evaluate the criticism objectively, make improvements if needed, and move forward without dwelling on negativity. This ability to recover and grow stronger with each experience is a hallmark of Stoic resilience. Lastly, Stoic practices cultivate a profound sense of inner peace. By letting go of the need to please everyone and accepting the impermanence of criticism, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and anxiety. Picture ending your day with a serene mind, knowing you responded thoughtfully to criticism while staying true to your principles. This tranquility allows you to focus on what truly enriches your life, like pursuing your passions or nurturing meaningful relationships. Real-life examples of these long-term benefits are all around us. Think of historical Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, who ruled with wisdom despite relentless criticism, or modern individuals who use Stoic principles to excel in high-pressure environments like sports or entrepreneurship. Their stories remind us that the power of Stoicism lies in its application. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, leading to a life where criticism no longer feels like a threat but an opportunity for growth. By embracing these Stoic techniques consistently, you unlock the potential to face every challenge with grace and strength. Moving forward, let us reflect on how these timeless principles can be seamlessly adapted to modern challenges, making them even more relevant for today's world. As the sun rises on the final chapter of our journey, let us take a moment to revisit the 20 Stoic ways to handle criticism and their collective power to transform our perspective on negative feedback. From focusing on what you can control to embracing the impermanence of criticism, each principle serves as a stepping stone towards greater emotional strength and clarity. These ancient practices, from adopting the observer's perspective to cultivating gratitude for critics, teach us that criticism is not a threat but an opportunity for growth. By practicing self-compassion, turning feedback into motivation, and strengthening your internal compass, you build a life rooted in resilience and authenticity. Remember, these principles are not isolated ideas but rather a holistic toolkit that, when combined, can empower you to face criticism with grace and confidence. Criticism isn't the enemy. How we respond to it defines who we are. Consider which Stoic principle resonates most with you and share it in the comments below. Let us continue this journey together. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more wisdom and personal growth content.